So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Liberation, Chapter 21, the Dynasty of Bharata. Text 12. So this is Maharaj Rantidev speaking. Yeah, Maharaj Rantidev, very charitable. Yeah, Rantidev. Nakamye aham gatim Ishvara param. Ashtaradhi yuktama punarbhavam va. आरतिं प्रपद्ये खिल देहनाशा स्थितो येन भवन्ति अदुःखा न कामयेऽहं गतिम् ईश्वरात् परम्। अष्टाविधियुक्तम् अपुनर्भवं वा आरतिं प्रपद्ये खिल देहभाजा अन्तःस्थितो येन भवन्ति या दुःखा न कामयेऽहं गतिमीश्वरात् पराम्। अष्टाविधियुक्तमपुनर्भवं वा आरतिं प्रपद्ये खिल देहभाजा अन्तःस्थितो येन भवन्ति अदुःखा Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation. I do not pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for 8 perfections of mystic yoga, nor for salvation from the repeated birth and death. I want only to stay among all the living entities and suffer all distresses on their behalf, so that they may be freed from suffering. Purport. Vasudeva Datta made a similar statement to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, requesting the Lord to liberate all the living entities in his presence. Vasudeva Datta submitted that if they were unfit to be liberated, he himself would take all their sinful reactions and suffer personally so that the Lord might deliver them. A Vaishnava is therefore described as Paradukha Dukhi, very much aggrieved by the sufferings of others. As such, a Vaishnava engages in activities for the real welfare of human society. So I do not pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the eight perfections of mystic yoga, nor for salvation from birth, repeated birth and death. I want only to stay among all the living entities and suffer all distresses on their behalf, so that they may be freed from suffering. So Maharaj Rantidev is a famous personality. As it is being mentioned here, Maharaj Rantidev never endeavored to earn anything. He would enjoy whatever he got by the arrangement of providence. But when guests came, he would give them everything. Thus he underwent considerable suffering, along with the members of his family. Indeed, he and his family members shivered for want of food and water, yet Rantidev always remained sober. Once after fasting for 48 days, in the morning, Rantidev received some water and some foodstuffs made with milk and ghee. But when he and his family were about to eat, so a Brahman guest comes. So he gives him, Rantidev offers him food, serves him very nicely. And again they sit down to eat. A Shudra comes. Rantidev gives him also a share of food. The Shudra went away, another guest comes. Rantidev gave him also. That was his first breaking, 48 days. After that, a little bit was remaining. A dog came. Rantidev gave also the balance to the dog. And so, and after the dog, there was only food for one person. And some water was there. Oh, the water is also only enough for only one person. That's what it said. Bhagavad was saying. The water is only enough for one person. So Chandala came, he said, give me some water. Rantidev gave him water also. And so he distributed everything to them. So 48 days fasting, nothing to eat. And with what consciousness? This verse is giving the consciousness in which Rantidev. Today's verse is saying the consciousness. So Srimad Bhagavatam is highlighting for us the supreme level of consciousness which every progressive devotee should cultivate. This is the consciousness of Paradukha Dukhi, feeling suffering to see the suffering of others. So progressively there are these 4 levels of consciousness which one may have as one advances or as one moves towards Krishna. Then there is elevation or progression of consciousness. The lowest level of consciousness is Paradukha Sukhi, lowest level of consciousness. One who takes pleasure out of the miseries of others. Modern day exploitative mindset very much revolves around this consciousness. To incriminate pain and suffering on others and to rejoice in that. Very sadistic, inhuman, barbaric. Paradukha Sukhi, lowest level of consciousness. It's a demoniac consciousness, rather you can say. The next rampant level of consciousness, which is very much prevalent in the world, is Parasukha Dukhi. That being very miserable, seeing others happy. Parasukha Dukhi. This consciousness is also very much rampant all around in the world because today the world is the world is full of competition. We say competition. The entire world, a lot of competition all around. So when one is competing, if one is progressing oneself, then one is very happy. Others are progressing, then there is envy in the heart. And therefore, it is Parasukha Dukhi. Srila Prabhupada explains that in this material world, everyone is envious of everyone else. It is an epidemic. Envy is an epidemic. Therefore, this consciousness also signifies an epidemic consciousness, diseased epidemic consciousness. Because envy breeds from this platform. That one is not happy to see others progress, to see others successful, others happy. So if this disease of envy is removed, then there is the next level of consciousness, which is Parasukha Sukhi. This consciousness requires the envy to be removed and operated and eliminated. This consciousness requires the feeling of belongingness to every living entity of this world, which is only possible with God consciousness. That is actually the consciousness of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. That everybody in this material world is my own brother and sister. Everyone around is part and parcel of Krishna. So this consciousness is only possible with positive spiritual realizations, Parasukha Sukhi, being very happy is seeing the happiness of others. Such a person is stay put in an ocean of happiness. Nothing can stir him or her. Why? Because anybody is happy, this devotee is happy. And somebody in the world is happy at some time at least. So this devotee always happy. Such a devotee is always happy. This is so this is a very blessed consciousness, state of consciousness. Parasukha Sukhi. Being very happy in seeing others advance and others very happy. The highest level of consciousness is paradukha dukhi. Feeling the pain and misery of others and working hard to remove that pain. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport here that such a devotee of the Lord is always working for the welfare of the human beings, the welfare of everyone. They're working hard for the welfare of everyone. Srila Prahlad Maharaj, in his prayers in the Hari Varsha, Hari Varsha's national anthem, Srila Prahlad Maharaj, one beautiful prayer is praying, Swasti Astu uh, Swasti Astu Vishwasva Khala Prasidhatam. He's saying that, and let there be all auspiciousness in the world for every living entity. He's praying like that. How all auspicious will come on everyone, every living entity. He's saying, let the envy in everyone's heart get burnt up, get eradicated. The envy in everybody's heart gets eradicated. Then there will be welfare for everyone. Yeah. So this is 518, 9. Swasti astu vishwasya khala prasidhatam dhyayantu bhutani shivam mithodhi manascha bhadaram bhajata dadukshaje aveshyatam no matirapi ahetuki. He's saying, may there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all the envious persons be pacified. May all the living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of others' welfare, each other's welfare. Therefore, let us engage in the service of Supreme Transcendence, Lord Shri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. So, Prahlad Maharaj is explaining a very beautiful point. So, they're saying that when people are engaged in the service of transcendence, then their hearts are pacified, the minds are pacified and not agitated with envy, and they are calm, and then they will be thinking of the welfare of others. So therefore, let us always remain absorbed in thought of Krishna, in service to Krishna. Many living entities work hard, but most of them, owing to a materialistic conception of life, they're only working hard for their own sense gratification, selfish or extended. But such a devotee also is working very hard, is working very hard to alleviate the suffering of humanity. And therefore, such a devotee is ready to make immense sacrifices. You see, Bhagavatam mentions about Rantidev here. Rantidev is having such a heart at a very intense, what an intense level of sacrifice he is ready to do just to help others, just to encourage others, just to serve others. Find it, Rantidev is a king also. And as a king, he's supposed to, one of his duties is to take care of the citizens. So actually, his feeding them is his dharma. And he's ready to undergo immense tribulations just for the sake of doing it. Just for the sake of upholding his duty. This is dharma. Like that, we have to uphold our spiritual practices. Like that, we have to uphold our services. As a beautiful lesson we can learn here. So he's offering prasad. He's not offering. And Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that when one takes prasadam, then prasadam acts like a vaccine. The prasadam which is taken, which is honored, it acts like a vaccine from the infection of the negativity in the world around. The material world, material desire, they're all infectious. And therefore, when one takes prasad, one becomes immune to that kind of infection, which is there prevalent all around in the world. So Rantidev was distributing prasad in that way. So we have to understand the principle is when sacrifice is involved, then the consciousness is very focused. On transcendence. So when in the service to the Supreme Lord some sacrifice is involved, then one's consciousness is fixed in transcendence. To the degree there is sacrifice, to that degree the consciousness is fixed in transcendence. When it is luxurious, cozy, comfortable, and then we are doing service, the mind will not be fixed in Krishna. Rather, the mind will get hooked and to the luxury and comfort. So therefore, when sacrifice is involved, when some penance is involved, tapasya is involved, then mind is very nicely riveted to Krishna. So that is why the path of bhakti is the path of Vairagya Vidya. So why we have to undertake a simple life? Because when there is simplicity for oneself and opulence for Krishna, the mind will be hooked to Krishna. But if one starts taking a share of the opulence of Krishna, the mind will get hooked to the opulence. Krishna is forgotten. So Maharaj Rantidev is exemplifying this consciousness that one should struggle to any extent to create welfare for others. So Radhanath Maharaj says, one time we were hearing Zoranis Radhanath Swami Maharaj said that when we work hard and struggle for hours and hours and days and months to give pleasure to other Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, even for a few minutes, for that few minutes of pleasure to them, we are working hard for hours and hours and days and months. He said, then that community will be a very blessed community, impenetrable to the infection of Maya. So the science of thought channelization is that when the thoughts are channelized to one's own welfare, all the infection of the material world will come. But when the thoughts are channelized to others' welfare, no infection will come. Very interesting. Welfare is common. Self-welfare, infection. Others' welfare, no infection. So no infection comes because of Krishna's blessings. Because of the blessings of the Lord. So therefore, one should painstakingly take steps for the welfare of others. That pain is the highest cadre of transcendental bliss. Therefore, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, तुम्हारे सेवते जय तो दुख सही तो परम सुख. And in your service, O Lord, whatever miseries and troubles are there, that is my greatest ecstasy. And Rantidev is partaking that ecstasy, and Srila Rantidev is sharing that ecstasy with all of us and setting such a wonderful example of a personality who is always alert and focused towards the welfare of every living entity, understanding everyone to be part and parcel of Krishna. Let's stop here for today. Do we have any questions? Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Yeah, what is the difference between Parasukha Sukhi and Paradukha Dukhi level of consciousness? Parasukha Sukhi is a right heart and a rightful heart which is freed of envy. Paradukha Dukhi is a higher level of consciousness because in this level of consciousness, a devotee is working very, very hard to make others happy. He's not just sitting and counting on others' happiness, he's working very, very hard in accepting their troubles and sharing the happiness with them. So it's a higher level of consciousness in one sense, higher than Parasukha Sukhi. So Parasukha Sukhi is non-envious disposition. The attitude is very good. But Paradukha Dukhi, in that attitude, a devotee is working very, very hard. So we will see, like many times people say that Krishna consciousness is a peaceful situation. Yes, that's one degree of Krishna consciousness, but higher than that, the devotee is no longer mongering for peace. The devotee rather is taking more and more anxiety. Anxiety for what? For the mission of the Lord. So that type of anxiety is higher than just being peaceful. so like that, peaceful and calm. Yes, Krishna consciousness self-manifested peaceful condition. Higher than that is to take anxiety for others and to be working hard. So a devotee in Paradukha Dukhi consciousness is, we will see, is more hardworking for the sake of helping others, and therefore such a devotee will be more very pleasing to Krishna. This will be very pleasing to Krishna. So there is a small difference there. Although both attitudes are glorious, in Parasukha Sukhi, the motivation to work for the welfare of everyone is not that intense as is there in Paradukha Dukhi consciousness. That's the point. Yes. Yeah. So Parasukha Sukhi is non-envious consciousness. But Paradukha Dukhi is much more dynamic and active consciousness. Yes. So, in which you see the devotee is not just, yeah, it's a higher platform. So, the devotee is very much concerned, and we see our acharyas have exemplified that. Mahaprakash Leela devotees were more eager that everyone else get mercy, and rather they were beconing the Lord to remind him of devotees whom he has, whose names were not called out. This is a Paradukha Dukhi consciousness. And see, Paradukha Dukhi will naturally include Parasukha Sukhi. The Paradukha Dukhi superset like that. So, but vice versa is not necessarily true. Yeah. So other devotees are concerned for Mukunda. Similarly, there were some gopis who, instead of enjoying with Lord Krishna in the Rasa Leela, they were worried about other gopis. So they were going around and telling other gopis, "Oh, Krishna is there under the Vamshot, please come in this direction." And Lord Krishna is having Rasa Leela, you know. So they were calling all others and sending them to the right place. The Paradukha Dukhi consciousness, you know, we see. Yes, book distribution same as this aspect of Rasa Leela Prabhupada said. To invite all other gopis towards Krishna. So Paradukha Dukhi. It's not here for today. Okay, there is another question. Yes, Partho. Yeah, that's yeah. What is our dharma? Yes. So whatever see, when we say Rantidev is a king, the being king is doesn't come as a name tag with the birth. It is the acceptance of the service which Rantidev did as a king, and therefore now for the sake of his citizens, he was ready to undergo sacrifice. So that means whatever service we take up, that becomes our dharma actually. So whatever service and responsibility we take up, that becomes our dharma. So uh, so that becomes our dharma, and rather we can take and as time progresses, we can take more and more responsibilities like that. So that is a point. Like say, for example, one takes responsibility of preaching in a college. So anybody in that college, one should feel for them and see how we can alleviate the sufferings of people there. And then one can grow further and take responsibility of a part of a city, and then take responsibility of an entire city, and then take responsibility of a country, then take responsibility of the world. So anybody is suffering in the world, then he should be suffering. Prabhupada did that. Prabhupada was not eating and utilizing that money, saving that money to print Krishna Katha, so that the enviousness in the hearts of people can get washed off, and and therefore they can become selfless, and therefore they can become truly happy. So Prabhupada was undertaking that kind of inconvenience of not eating also for the sake of preaching Krishna consciousness. Uh, so, so our dharma is so whatever service we take up, now that becomes our dharma. So this is whatever service we take up, that becomes our dharma, and in the mission of the Lord, and then the path of service leads to more service. That means we are doing service properly. So therefore, service always should lead to more service. That means we are driving on the lane of service properly. So So therefore, our dharma can progressively increase.
Everybody was there just get nectar. Everybody is there with the enjoying mentality. They will not rejoice to the level the person who is sacrificing for others. So, if they sacrifice for others,
Yes, Lord Shiva is the epitome for Dukkha Dukhi also. Yes.
so Shiva means auspicious.
Yes. Yes. That's true. Let's stop here for today. Granthada Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.